Wholeness, welcome to my channel. My name is Rashida Silvertree, and today's topic we are going to discuss healing. And so, should there always be something else to heal? Should there always be work to do on ourselves? And I guess I say this because, especially in the self-healing, self-empowerment, on the path of self-discovery, when you have huge shifts or spiritual awakenings, it's like you realize not only the greatness and the pure potentiality that you have, but you also realize the unhealed, the unobserved, the unresolved trauma, psychological issues and conflicts and internal conflicts that you go through. And all of that kind of bubbles up during a spiritual awakening or a reestablishment of, your identity and how you identify with your reality, how you identify with the self, with your family, your friends, your purpose, your path. And so my last couple of videos, I think, or one of my last videos, I was inquisitive, having several, inquiries about my life and my role as an empath in this life and my struggle with that. And I don't mind being transparent of my, inner issues that I have with myself or questions that I have about how I engage with life and how life engages with me. This channel is I guess more of a reflection on and sharing of my own personal philosophies and experiences and kind, soft reminders of who we really are, with a little dash of reality and a little dash of spirituality. It's just my authentic voice. But there was a comment someone made, and thank you so much for your engagement. I really deeply appreciate it. It's really having me think about certain things. Someone mentioned, I don't know the name of her username. I think it's a woman, but she mentioned therapy and how I should look into it per se, and she was very kind about that. Because of my video, I was discussing the struggles of investing your energies in the wrong place and how that really triggers a lot of deep unhealed wounds. But then I started questioning, well, there will always be wounds to heal, right? There will always be something that we need to fix within ourselves, something that needs our attention, something that needs nourishment and nurturing. And I've come to the conclusion that yes, there are parts of ourselves that weren't parented correctly, right? That we weren't given the tools to dissolve a lot of our issues growing up, starting from childhood, starting from our foundation. And so as an adult, I'm in this space of realization that yes, we need to parent ourselves. There are parts and aspects of ourself that we need to mother, and there are parts of and aspects of ourself that we need to father. And usually with human beings, we externalize and we try to seek the healing through other men and women in our lives, right? Through professional, personal, romantic, friendships, right? Our work relationships. We try to fulfill these unhealed voids and wounds in ourselves outside of ourselves. And we must realize that we must be our own mother, father, right? And to heal the inner child. And yes, going to therapy, going to counseling, going to spiritualists, going to healers, to psychoanalysts, psychologists, if need be, psychiatrists. Like there's help out there and there's support out there. But it's very interesting how as healers and as, our connection with healing, like it's almost like once we've healed and closed an open wound and treated the wound, then we have the wisdom to share how to do that. And so we it's almost like the universe will, it's part of like an initiation, if you will. When we awaken to our something that's unhealed within ourselves, it's an initiation. It's a dark night of the soul. It's a spiritual awakening. Things aren't going right in our life. Everything's falling apart. But it is just our higher selves, our soul, initiating us into a different space and allowing ourselves to let go of something, right? And it's almost like, and it's a very tricky spot, because once we've healed, sometimes we attach ourselves to the act of healing. Like, okay, now I healed that. Now on to the next. Now this is the next thing I'm going to heal. Okay, on to the next. Now this is the next thing I'm going to heal. On to the next. And I guess it's like, well, when does it stop? When does it end? Does it ever end? Is it supposed to end? Do we live our lives where we continuously just peel off the layers? And with this peeling of the layers, like an onion, right? We're peeling off these layers to realize that are the layers just illusions? And for those of us that are really goal oriented, what are we trying to reach? Are we trying to reach the core of the onion, right? Which there is no core of in an onion, but you understand what I'm saying. Like, are we what core, what truth are we trying to to reveal about ourselves when we're constantly going through this evolution and shift and change? And believe me, look, I'm not an astrologist, but I believe in energy, that there are truths in energy blueprints. Okay, energy blueprints, meaning numerology, astrology, chakra, all of that stuff. I believe that there's some truth in that. And I pull and gravitate and take and use what resonates with me and leave the rest, right? But with astrology, yes, I'm Scorpionic, okay? I came through the gate of the Scorpio, so I have a blueprint of that energy, if you will. And I will say, for those of us who have that Scorpionic light, we experience life cycles where we embody transformation, we embody change. And with transformation and change, you have a lot of life, death, constantly just changing all the time. And I've noticed this. There's a truth in that, right? Because some people believe, astrology is a bunch of, BS. I don't follow it religiously, because I think there are definitely different other things that, you got to look at, right? We're not just one sign. We're not just one specific, we don't fit in just one box. We are multi-dimensional, interdimensional. But I will say, in my experience and my path, I will say that I have experienced numerous life, death, life cycle, to the point where I expect change. I expect things to shift. I expect where I will be challenged in a way where I will need to be adaptable, flexible, and I need to just really be in flow. Because they also say the Scorpionic energy is very fixed. It's a very fixed sign, and it's very square-ish. It's very masculine and just, like, this is how it goes. And yes, I do have that rigidity, a rigid part of my personality that comes out, of course. I like structure and all that, but with healing to me it's almost like, you have an awakening, right? You have a realization of something that you've carried with yourself. And then you have a choice. And within this choice, you can continue to work with this energy that you've been holding on, and make it palatable, make it into clay, and make it into something else, alchemize it, or you can literally at that moment let it go. And it's very interesting, because there are some things on my path where, and I even question this right now at this moment, what have I let go of? How do you know that you've truly healed? How do you know that you've truly let something go? How do you know that you've truly alchemized something into something else? How can you take something that no longer serves you and let it go or alchemize it, right? And when I say alchemize, when I say taking it and moving it into different something and making it into something different, you're using the wound, you're using the experiences to your benefit and for the benefit of others, for the benefit of all. Or you completely release it back to God, to source, to higher power without a second thought. And those are two different, I find there's two different, very distinctive paths of healing. And, you know, for example, for therapy, if you have a therapist that you work with, they're not going to just look at you. You say, okay, well, here's a list of my traumas. What do I do? They're not going to look at you and say, okay, let it go. That happened 20 years ago. That happened 15 years ago. That happened last year. Just wipe your hands clean. Let it go. You don't engage with that person or that environment anymore. Whoop-de-woo. Move on. Here are the tools to get... No. With the therapy, especially in Western medicine, in therapy, sometimes it takes decades. Some therapists will take years just to unpack one trauma. And it'll take that patient or that client that long to finally see the missing puzzle to the bigger picture. You know, that type of healing where you just kind of play with it, you question it, you go in, you step out, you role play, you know, not just being the person who was affected by the experience, but understanding why the other person did what they did or said what they said and all that other stuff. But then there's this other side where it's deeper. It's like this deeper agreement within yourself that you say, I choose to let it all go. Because here's the thing, and one of my mentors, I was living in New Mexico at the time, and I was going through this, like, because I'm a very ambitious person. If I set my mind on something, I'm doing it. Nothing's getting, I don't care how long it takes me. I don't care how long I talk about it. It's getting done, right? That's just my personality. But I was, you know, as I guess a person who goes through a lot of life cycles, okay? A lot of change, transformation, moving from place to place, changing jobs, relationships, all this. I have a lot of energy moving constantly, I feel, in my life. And I also have seasons where I'm not doing a lot. I'm not engaging with a lot of people. I don't have a lot happening. So I do have these lulls of stillness. And so I was in a lull. I was in a kind of a space of just kind of like, you know, nothing too exciting and nothing too depressing. I'm just in the space of neutrality. And my mentor said, because I was saying, well, I want to do this and this and this and this and this. And he said, why obsess about the doing? He asked me, he was like, what are you without all these labels and all these experiences? What's left? I was listening to all these things. Well, I teach, I'm a musician, I'm an artist, I like to travel, I'm a daughter, I'm a sister, I'm a this, I'm a that, I'm a this. He said, one by one, slowly strip all that away. And what is left? I'm a woman. Take all of that we identify with, and what is left? I think that approach is a secret to healing and a secret to releasing, because once you release or just step back and look at all of what you identify with, all the roles that you fulfill in your life, what's left? And then you ask yourself, well, why am I affected by this? The daughter was wounded, right? The sister was wounded. The teacher was stressed out. The artist was confused, right? These are all when we over-identify with our roles, yeah, we're going to need therapy. Yeah, we're going to be affected and afflicted and confused and vulnerable and just kind of like stuck. We're going to be in that, what the person was saying, a matrix loop or an energy loop where it just keeps replaying, and you can't figure out why the certain story or timeline just keeps going over and over and over no matter what you do. Because you're over identifying with a character, with a role. And when you step back and you step away and you're like, okay, well, this is Rashida the teacher. This is Rashida the daughter. This is Rashida the sister. This is Rashida the artist. This is Rashida the musician. This is Rashida the healer and the spiritualist. This is Rashida this and Rashida, and these are just identities and roles. And these identities and roles engage with reality. Reality engages with these roles, with the characters. And there's always a story and a character with a story. There isn't a story. It's a very symbiotic type of relationship. You can't really have a character without a story. You can't have a story without a character. And the story it's when you're having this type of relationship, you can't control how people treat you. You can't control the narrative sometimes. You just can't. Unless you choose to step back and detach and look at the roles that you're fulfilling and the characters that you're playing, and you're just like, I'm tired of playing this character. Archetypes are something that I'm really interested in getting into because they are real and they show up. And they're very revealing of the shadow self, of the unhealed wounds, of the confusion, of the energy loops, time loops that we find ourselves in. Because the archetype is trying to show you something, like the wounded warrior, or the gypsy, or the artist, or the lover, or the savior, or the hermit, or the philosopher, or the teacher, or the healer, or the magician, right? Or the romantic. There's hundreds of different archetypes that play out into our life. So back to the question, should there always be something to heal, or why does it feel like there's always something to be revealed? Because I think that's our real job, like our real purpose. Not our careers, not our personalities, not even the type of religions or spiritual practices, or whatever we decide to call ourselves, energy healers or doctors or teachers or artists or a factory worker or a person who works at the gas station, or a daughter or a mother or father. We find purpose in those things, but once you step back and you look at the bigger picture and you see the stage, you see the character, you see the many different storylines and how they interweave with each other. You see the web, right? You see the web of the spider, and how everything, all of it is just part of it, and you just, our purpose as the person looking at the stage is to observe and to be open to shifting and retiring some of our characters. It's almost like a sitcom, a TV sitcom, where you'll have a character, main role. I think of the TV show Game of Thrones, all right? Where you'll have that one solid main character, and season after season after season, they have the ups and the downs in their character development, and they do good things and they don't do good things, and they shift the whole storyline, or they kind of meddle in the background, right? And then all of a sudden, boom, character's gone, died, whatever, they're taken out, they're retired, the character's retired. So with that, I will leave it to you guys. Tell me what you think about that, because I'm all about, healing and releasing, and I made several videos on forgiveness. Forgiveness is important. That's this very, very important part of my my practice. I think that is heaven. That is the gateway to heaven. And heaven is within ourselves. So is hell. And so healing is that it's a scorpionic, it's a serpentine. Because I think of the medicine of the serpent when it comes to healing, which is part of my animal medicine as well. And it's the skin, always, like, you know, that releasing of the serpent's skin. And we must remember, this is coming up. I'm seeing a snake eating itself. You know, we have to be very careful to not get trapped into getting so caught up in eating the healing, always looking for something to transform, to alchemize. Right? I think that we must be very careful with that. Just allow things that need to be healed to come up naturally. Because sometimes we're not ready to heal certain things in ourselves. And that can do greater damage than, I think, if the being isn't quite ready to, or they don't have the tools to really look at certain things yet. You don't want to tear the Band-Aid off. And sometimes there are seasons in life where you need that Band-Aid ripped off. So we have to be very gentle with ourselves when it comes to healing. And yes, it is an onion, right? But like, don't get caught up in the onion. Like, don't, like, tearing off all the layers, because the layers are just an illusion, and there are lessons in the illusion, and that's it. You're not the onion, right? I hope that makes sense. I love onions, by the way. They're great. They help. They're very good at killing off germs, and it helps with the immune system. Okay, just make sure you brush your teeth and use deodorant, because it's strong. It's strong, but very, very medicinal and very tasty. I don't know where I was going to go with that, but thank you so much for tuning in, and I hope, again, please just share your thoughts on that, because I think it's something that I noticed, like, with some individuals, they're just, you know, this obsession with let's reveal and work on everything, and it's like, okay, allow yourself to just catch your breath after doing some intense healing. You know, if something comes up, allow it to process, allow yourself to integrate the experience before you move on to the next thing that needs to be healed and realized and actualized, you know, and released. Ask your body, are you ready to release this? Heart, are you ready to release this? Mind, are you ready to release this? Ego, I know you're there. We need to release this. You know? Inner child, are you ready to release this? We must slow down with this healing, because it's like, with this whole obsession with ascension, we're ascending. We have to it's like fourth, fifth dimension. It's just like, slow down, sis. Slow down, my brother. It's okay. Really. Bring it back to present. Bring yourself back to the now. There's no rush. I believe in timelessness. In the spirit world, time is not what it's not what we have been programmed to believe. It's not linear. Humans are programmed to think in a very linear way. Spirit thinks in a cyclical way. All things exist simultaneously. The ending, the middle, and the beginning, all of it. And different endings, different beginnings, different climaxes in the story. They all exist at the same time. So this obsession of we're needing to rush our healing to get to a destination, be very careful. Otherwise, you'll end up eating yourself. Thank you so much. I'll see you soon.